Chapter 31 Back to the starting point. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Crick went out with the food for 100 people given to him by Jafu. The atmosphere in the restaurant was a bit depressing, and Sanji comforted him. What are you afraid of? If they dare to come later, we will beat them away. What's the use of regretting it now? Even our own chef did this, so the restaurant staff had no choice but to unite and fight off the invading pirates. Patty echoed, the clique pirates are nothing to be afraid of. We are good chefs at sea restaurants. Oh. Let's do it, guys. Oh, let those people see how awesome our sea restaurant chefs are, Luffy shouted excitedly, and me, ha ha ha. I almost forgot, Luffy is still an employee of the restaurant. Lin Hai said to Nami next to him, Nami, please stand next to me later to ensure your safety. Usopp quickly grabbed Lin Hai's arm and said, Hey Lin Hai, and me, too. You need to protect me too. Lin Hai was speechless and said, didn't you say that you want to become a brave sea warrior? Okay. What about Sauron? I can also protect you, brother Shang, come and listen. Zoro's eyelids twitched, you bastard, I don't want your protection. But I always feel that something is going on. You all should be careful. Before he finished speaking, there was a loud noise outside. What happened? Why did the restaurant shake so hard? Could it be a tsunami? Stop asking so many questions, go outside and see what's going on. It turned out that Crick was taking the food for his men to finish, and when he was about to grab the restaurant on the sea, Crick's big ship was split into two with a sword. Faced with such a scene and a force that had never been seen before, everyone couldn't help but feel a little panicked, because how could such a big ship suddenly split into two? What happened to Crick's ship? Why did it suddenly become like this? Look, the incision is so smooth. Was it split open by someone? Are you kidding? How could such a big ship be split open by someone? Hey, now is not the time to care about this, right? You bastards, come with me and put the planks down. That's right, such a big wave will flood the restaurant. On Lin Hai's side, Nami asked, Lin Hai, if it were you, would you be able to do it? Lin Hai said with a smile, of course, you can, don't you know my ability yet? Usopp remembered the high cliffs at the coast of his hometown and said angrily, Lin Hai, what did you bastard do to my hometown? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, let's not talk about this for now. Look at the distance. There is a person there, Usopp said amusedly, are you kidding? It's true, Zoro stepped forward excitedly and muttered, it's him. Luffy asked confused, who is it? Lin Hai joked, does he owe you a lot of money? This will make you happy. Zoro ignored the people next to him, swallowed his saliva, and explained, I went to sea to find him. He is the world's best swordsman, Joraker Mihawk, the man known to the world as Hawkeye. The world's #1 swordsman, Joraker Mihawk. Nami turned to Lin Hai and asked, if it were you, what would happen if you fought him? Lin Hai is not Zoro's novice. Hawkeye can stand at the pinnacle of the world's swordsmanship. He is not only the best in swordsmanship, but also has the domineering power of knowledge, power, physical fitness, speed, strength, combat experience, etc., which are all in the world. Lin Hai is not confident enough to be able to compete with Hawkeye. Lin Hai explained, if I fight to the death with him, I will be killed by him instantly. Nami exclaimed, isn't it? Aren't you very confident? Why do you say such a thing? It's not like you at all. Luffy turned around and asked, Lin Hai, is the gap between you and him really that big? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, how many years has he been wandering and how many things have he experienced? No matter what aspect, how can he be compared to us fledgling pirates? Usopp didn't believe it. You don't underestimate yourself too much, do you? Lin Hai warned, if you want to climb to the top, you must first recognize your own strength and understand the power of the world's top. Only in this way can you make progress. Damn, I'm not your teacher. Just leave it alone. Luffy pouted, Lin Hai, you stingy. After a few people chatted for a while, after the smoke from the waves dissipated not far away, a small boat with a unique shape appeared, like a coffin board. There were candles on the boat with green flames. Everything looked so weird and alternative. There was a man sitting on the boat. He had a short beard, a black hat with white fluff on his head, a burgundy-patterned shirt, a black windbreaker, white trousers, and black short boots. There was a cross hanging on his chest and a long knife on his back. At this time, he was sitting there with his legs crossed, his hands on his legs, his head lowered, giving people a strong sense of depression. At the right time, a crew member of the clique pirates broke this sense of oppression. "You bastard, where did we offend you?" "That's right, chasing from the grand route to here." Hawkeye glanced at the person asking the question and simply replied, "I'm bored, just passing the time." "What reason is this? Are you bored and hacking away at so many other ships? After you're not satisfied with the chop, you chase them from the grand route to the starting point of the voyage?" The corners of Crick's eyes twitched, and he was filled with anger. His ambition to dominate the grand route was dashed by this absurd reason. Now, everything is back to square one. Crick couldn't bear it anymore, so he gave a hint to the sniper on his ship. The sniper knew very well. He took out his 2 guns and fired at Hawkeye. Bang bang. A burst of gunfire rang out. I saw Hawkeye pull out the black knife from his back, and with a simple movement, he deflected the 2 bullets that were shot at him. The sniper rubbed his eyes in disbelief and muttered, "How is that possible? I clearly aimed." At this time, Zoro had already taken off the silk scarf tied to his arm and tied it to his head. He stepped forward and explained. It was resolved by his knife. The sniper asked, "Who are you?" Zoro did not answer his words, but walked in the direction of Hawkeye. On the other side, Nami asked worriedly, "Didn't you say that person is so powerful? Why did you let Zoro challenge him?" Luffy held his hat and explained, "That's Zoro's dream." "What reason do we have to stop him?" Lin Hai nodded and said, "Nami, don't worry. Think about it, if Sauron shrinks when facing Hawkeye, how can he advance towards the goal of being the world's best swordsman in the future? So, you should congratulate him. Fan. Why are you #1 in the world?" Nami shook her head and said, "What a bunch of boring guys, I don't care about you." Next to him, Usopp swallowed and suddenly realized that he seemed to be on an incredible ship. At the right time, Lin Hai pulled Nami to a place and said, "You guys are right here, don't run around." Nami asked doubtfully, "You want to challenge Hawkeye too?" Lin Hai shook his head and gave Nami a smile. How could he, Lin Hai, be ignorant enough to challenge Hawkeye? He just wanted to show off. Chapter 32 Killing Chickens and Sheep. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Who is he? 3 Knives. I remember, he is the famous bounty hunter in the East China Sea, Roronoa Zoro. So he is Roronoa Zoro. Who do you think can win? Zoro ignored the whispers of the people next to him and drew out his sword and pointed it at Hawkeye. "I have never seen such a soft sword." Hawkeye said calmly, "Not all hard knives have power." Sauron asked, "Did you cut off this ship with that knife?" Hawkeye replied, "That's right." Hearing Hawkeye's answer, everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Zoro said, "I see, he is indeed the strongest. I went to sea to find you." Hawkeye wondered, "What is your goal?" Zoro grinned and said, "The strongest." Hawkeye snorted, "Stupid guy." Zoro asked, "You are very free, right? Let's compete." Hawkeye jumped up, stood directly next to Sauron, and said disdainfully, "Humph, you miserable weakling, if you were really a first-class swordsman, you should have understood the strength gap between us before fighting me. You actually dare to draw a sword at me. Should I say that you are ignorant or that you have courage?" TSK, TSK, TSK. A sudden voice sounded. Who was it if it wasn't Lin Hai? Everyone looked at Lin Hai and saw that Lin Hai was holding a very beautiful sword in his hand. Lin Gao Hai took out his sword, did a sword show and said, "I heard that you are the best swordsman in the world. I know you are very powerful, but if I don't have the courage to challenge you, how can I become a top swordsman?" Hawkeye turned around and asked, "Who are you?" Are you here to challenge me too? No. Lin Hai shook his head and said, my name is Huaxia Di Lin Hai. Although I can't beat you, I have a few words to say. Seeing everyone looking at him, Lin Hai felt happy, then he raised his sword and introduced, this sword is called Gao Feng. It is 1.5 meters long and weighs 8.5 kilograms. It is made of a sharp weapon made of ice from outside the sky. Blow short hair, kill chickens and sheep, bah, in short, this sword is the strongest in my heart. Ding, congratulations to the host for receiving a coquettish reward, / note that once this / is executed, it needs to cool down for a month. At the same time, the host will also have some side effects. Please use it as appropriate. What the hell, Lin Hai doesn't have time to check it out. Seeing the eagle eye staring at him, Lin Hai shed a drop of cold sweat on his forehead. Why didn't he hold his teeth tightly just now? If those swordsmen knew that they were killing chickens and sheep with their swords, wouldn't they become public enemies in the world of swordsmen? At the right time, Hawkeye asked, are you here to amuse me? Do you know the consequences? Lin Hai quickly shook his head and said, how dare I? I'm just trying to clear the name of my sword. I'm sorry, you continue. Sure enough, Eagle Eye was still very talkative. After Eagle Eye turned to look at Sauron, Lin Hai quickly moved away and quickly checked the so-called space / Space cutting is different from previous space cutting, and the way to take out the knife is also different. To hold the knife, you need to hold your fist, put your middle and index fingers upright in front of your chest, a posture similar to chanting a spell, and then communicate with your mind. A space vortex the size of a bowl or plate will appear on the left side, and the high wind will slow down from there. Come out. Oh my god, he's so handsome. Once this / is made, it ignores the opponent's domineering power and cuts it off. Unlike the slashing in the space field, the slashing in the space field cannot hurt the opponent's armed color that is stronger than one's own. However, space / also has shortcomings, and it will be avoided by others. Before Lin Hai could continue exploring, an angry Luffy had already ejected and attacked Hawkeye. It turns out that Sauron has been chopped into the sea. Hawkeye glanced at Luffy and explained, don't worry, he's not dead, he just passed out. After saying that, Hawkeye turned to look at Zoro who was picked up, and said, see yourself clearly, understand the world, and then become stronger and surpass me, Roronoa Zoro, no matter how many years there are in the future. Throughout the years, I will be waiting for your challenge in this strongest position. Zoro pulled out his only remaining sword and shouted to the sky, Luffy, I won't lose again. Before I defeat him. Do you have any objections? Pirate King, Luffy smiled and said, ha 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 ha, no. Hawkeye had noticed Luffy a long time ago. That straw hat should have been left by his friend Shanks, right? Hawkeye said, becoming the Pirate King is harder than surpassing me. Luffy stuck out his tongue and said, I don't care, Pirate King, I'm determined. Hawkeye raised the corner of his mouth and was about to go back. Click on the side was not going to let Hawkeye go. After all, his pirate group was hacked to pieces by Hawkeye. Click stepped forward and said to Hawkeye, Hawkeye, our matter hasn't been resolved yet. Are you planning to leave now? Hawkeye replied calmly, I've had enough fun and am ready to go home and sleep. Click took out his weapon and sneered, before you go back, you must die once. Click fired the bullets he was armed with, and suddenly smoke filled the place where Hawkeye was. When the puff of smoke dissipated, Hawkeye had disappeared without a trace. TCH. Unable to find Hawkeye, Click had no choice but to turn around and say to his crew, what are you doing? Don't forget our purpose, which is to seize Barati, the restaurant on the sea. Oh, leave it to us, Admiral Click. Chief Creek is the strongest, even Hawkeye doesn't dare to fight him, ha. Hurry up and seize the restaurant on the sea. Then the food problem will be solved. By then, Clitty will definitely become the Pirate King. At this time, Luffy jumped onto the railing beside the ship and asked Tetsuo, the owner of the restaurant, if I drive them away, will you stop asking me to work for you? Chifu smiled and said, yes, as long as you can do it. Before Luffy could move, Lin Hai had already started his own. After all, Lin Hai also wants to be a strong man, so he can ride his horse on the sea, right? The tenderness of that night is still lingering in my mind. Therefore, under safe conditions, Lin Hai had to hurry up and perform sexy operations without missing a single opportunity. Ever since, Lin Hai had changed into a suit, which was a strange piece of clothing, everyone was once again attracted by Lin Hai's strange dress. Chapter 33 Space Cut 1 Sword Cuts the Sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Everyone looked closer and saw Lin Hai on the deck at this time. His long hair was flying, standing alone in the wind, his face was like a crown of jade, his eyes were like stars, and his nose was like hanging gallbladder, the long clothes were whistling in the sea breeze. At this time, the forest sea was filled with fairy spirit and thousands of crazy girls. Everyone couldn't help but swallow their saliva. Usopp was the first to exclaim, "Lin Hai, are you an immortal?" Silk Cake 1. Nami stared blankly at Lin Hai's profile. Is Lin Hai so handsome? Oops, I can't control myself. Whether it was the restaurant staff or the crew of the Click Pirates, they were reluctant to take their eyes away when looking at Lin Hai, as if they had forgotten what they were doing. Sanji on the side looked at Lin Hai's clothes and felt a little familiar, but he couldn't remember where he had seen them before. At this time, Luffy couldn't help it anymore, he was sweating profusely, his eyes were shining brighter than the eyes of a titanium alloy dog, and he ran to Lin Hai and exclaimed. Handsome, so handsome. The excited Luffy looked Lin Hai up and down. Lin Hai's hair didn't seem that long, right? So, Luffy's grab, the scene suddenly became awkward. Lin Hai's long hair was bought with coquettish coins from the system, as well as the foundation on his face. Otherwise, why would Lin Hai's face be like a woolen crown jade? And these clothes were actually clothes made by Lin Hai by tearing down the curtains in Sanji's room, because the clothes in the system were too expensive. At this time, Lin Hai's wig was being held by Luffy, and the two of them stared at each other for a moment. Nanny. What, it turned out to be a fake, I thought that guy was an immortal. Let me tell you, immortals are legends. How can there be real immortals? Those are just legends. The noise of a group of people finally brought Lin Hai back to reality. Lin Hai glared at Luffy, took the wig in his hand and put it on again, then Lin Hai said, "Can you please stop causing trouble?" Luffy nodded and said, "You have to dress me up later, I want this look too. It's so handsome." Lin Hai waved his hand and said, "Okay, hurry up and go." After readjusting his posture, Lin Hai performed a sword trick again, and then said, "I have a sword that can move mountains, topple seas, but... Oops, I can't remember what Usopp said before." Lin Hai was suddenly stuck. Can. But what? Is he lying to us again? Listening to other people's complaints, Lin Hai's cheeks turned red, and he turned to Usopp in embarrassment. "Usopp, what do you want to say next?" Usopp replied confusedly, "Broken mountains and rivers, established the universe." Lin Hai remembered it and suddenly said in surprise, "Broken mountains and rivers, established the universe, What? Ha ha ha, I'm laughing so hard. This guy is just pretending. Ha ha ha, this guy is so interesting. He doesn't even know what to say, and he comes out to embarrass himself. Hey, you idiot, do you want me to teach you how to say it?" Sanji on the side took a puff of cigarette, and then asked Luffy, "Are these weird things on your ship?" Lin Hai's face turned red when he heard the sound. Damn, he finally came up with such a genius idea. He spent so many coquettish coins on wigs, foundation, and makeup technology. After so much effort, what's the result? The result was a group of people laughing at him. Lin Hai, who was so angry that he didn't care, let these bastards see what the power of a sword is. Lin Hai was so angry that he took off his wig and threw it to the ground, then tore off his long clothes and threw them aside. Sanji saw the unique pattern in the clothes and immediately exclaimed, "Lin Hai, you bastard actually took down my curtains." Is he angry? He looks very angry. What is he trying to do? Why do I always have a bad feeling? That if you have a bad feeling, you're right. At this moment, Lin Hai on the deck used the space/rewarded by the system. Lin Hai made a fist with one hand, raising his index and middle fingers upright and at the same level as his chin, as if he was reciting some spell. After a while, a transparent space vortex appeared on the left side of Lin Hai, and a knife slowly came out from there. Isn't that Gao Feng? What exactly does he want to do? Everyone had this idea at this time. Lin Hai was seen holding the hilt of the knife, then raised his head and said, "Slash in space, cut the sea with one sword." Chang. Everyone only felt the sound of swords ringing in their ears, and a flash of light made the surrounding area darker. Click's crew and the restaurant employees all froze there, and then mechanically turned their heads to look at Lin Hai's sword that struck from bottom to top. Everyone was horrified to find that the sea was divided. This sword is much more terrifying than the one struck by Hawkeye just now. Click on the side no longer has the mind to care about his big ship that has turned into 4 sections. Everyone, come here and help, there's a big whirlpool in the sea. We have no time for conflicts. If we don't stabilize the ship, we will all be buried under the sea. Oh my God, that guy is so scary, so scary. What is Lin Hai doing at this time? After performing that move, I used too much force because I didn't develop enough space fruit ability. As a result, Lin Hai fainted. When Lin Hai lost his last trace of consciousness, Lin Hai couldn't help but complain in his heart, "Feng Saw system, you are not good enough." That when Lin Hai woke up, he saw Nami lying beside the bed. What was going on? What about the Creek pirates? What happened to Luffy and the others? Lin Hai's movements woke up Nami, who was resting. Seeing that Lin Hai was fine, Nami rolled her eyes, then twisted Lin Hai's ears and taught him a lesson. "You bastard is so messy. Do you know that all of us were almost killed by you? I know I was wrong." Lin Hai quickly begged for mercy, let go, it hurts." After Nami let go, Lin Hai realized that the surrounding area was so quiet, and there were occasional sounds of seagulls outside. This feeling seemed really good. However, Lin Hai still wanted to know how things developed after he fainted. So Lin Hai held Nami's hand and asked, "Are Luffy and the others okay?" Chapter 34. It's time to take medicine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nami rolled her eyes at Lin Hai and explained, "They are fine. After you passed out, Luffy had a fight with that Crick, but Crick lost. I don't know what they are doing now." Lin Hai always felt that he had slept for a long time, and asked curiously, "How long have I been unconscious?" Nami replied, "It's been 3 days. 3 days. Lin Hai exclaimed, and then muttered, "No, how could he be unconscious for so long?" After reacting, Lin Hai couldn't help but said, "Nami, I'm sorry, it took me so long. I was originally planning to go to your hometown." Nami shook her head and said, "After all these years, do you still care about these days? But you are really worrying. When the time comes, you won't do this again and then fall into coma." Lin Hai sat up, pulled Nami into his arms and shook his head. "No, it's my first time to use this move, I'm not skilled, I used too much force." "Ha ha ha." Nami said coquettishly, "Why do you always take advantage of others?" Lin Hai ignored Nami's words and said, "Nami, you should have more trust in us. You will be free soon." "Freedom?" Nami looked up at Lin Hai curiously. Lin Hai nodded and said, "After defeating Eren, you can do what you like." Nami looked at Lin Hai excitedly and asked uncertainly, "Will there really be such a day?" Lin Hai replied, "Don't worry, that day will come soon." Before Lin Hai could say anything else, an angry voice suddenly sounded outside, "Lin Hai, you bastard, let go of Miss Nami." As soon as Nami heard the voice, she quickly came out of Lin Hai's arms, and Lin Hai glared at Sanji angrily. It turned out that Sanji had brought food to Nami. Lin Hai ignored Sanji's murderous look, took the meal he was going to give Nami from his hand, and started eating by himself. Sanji became even more angry. "You bastard, this is not for you to eat." Nami asked, "Sanji, where are Luffy and the others?" Sanji's eyes immediately turned red and he said, "They are outside, Miss Nami. Soon, Luffy and the others came in. Luffy laughed loudly and said, Lin Hai, you are so bad. You didn't fight anyone, but you were unconscious for 3 days, you weakling. It's over, why did Luffy learn what he said? But Lin Hai was in no mood to argue with them now. He saw Zoro wrapped in gauze not far away. It was too casual. Lin Hai asked doubtfully, Zolong, is this how you treat your wound? Ah. Zoro asked doubtfully, is there any problem? Lin Hai looked at Sauron and replied, this is a big problem. With that said, Lin Hai turned to look at Sanji and asked, do you have high concentration alcohol here? Sanji asked, yes, there is. What do you want that for? Lin Hai said with a smile, take care of Sauron's idiot's wound. His wound is still bleeding. Don't you have a doctor here? Sanji replied, yes, but I ran away before. Zoro on the side waved his hand and said, as long as you sleep a few times, you'll be fine. Lin Hai exclaimed, you shameless bastard, if your wound gets infected, it will become rotten, inflamed, have a high fever, etc. I will ask you if you are okay. Luffy asked doubtfully, is it that serious? A group of illiterate people, Lin Hai said depressedly, think I didn't say anything, they starved me to death. At the right time, Luffy said, by the way, Sanji has agreed to join our pirate group. We now have 6 partners. Lin Hai glanced at Sanji and replied calmly, oh. Sanji said angrily, what's your reaction? Lin Hai said speechlessly, what reaction do you want me to have? Sanji posed and said smugly, shouldn't you feel very happy? A genius like me is your partner. Lin Hai interrupted, Sanji. Sanji asked confused, huh? Lin Hai said seriously, it's time for you to take medicine. Pfft, ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Zoro added fuel to the fire, Sanji, it's time for you to take medicine. Sanji, whose face was flushed from holding back, said loudly, Lin Hai. I'm going to kill you. After handling their own affairs, Sanji said goodbye to the waiters at the sea restaurant, and everyone boarded the Golden Merly. Cheers and welcome our new partner Sanji to join us. Hey Zoro, you are seriously injured, you can't drink. Stop being so verbose, it'll be fine if you drink a little. After everyone had some fun, Luffy and Usopp ran to Lin Hai. Luffy asked, Lin Hai, can you use that move that day again? What is it called? Usopp replied, it seems to be a space slash or something. It's so handsome. Luffy nodded and said, yes, let us see it again. After saying that, Luffy imitated Lin Hai's gesture of summoning the high wind sword that day. Sanji on the other side kicked Luffy away, Lin Hai, don't listen to them. If there is another huge wave of that size, I doubt we can reach Nami's hometown, right, beautiful? Nami-san. As quickly as it comes, as quickly as it goes. Sanji ran to Nami again to flatter her. At this time, Sauron stepped forward and said, Lin Hai, how did you do that move? Is your spatial ability that powerful? Lin Hai shook his head and said, I don't know very well. Anyway, the fruit of space is cattle, it is great, and the cattle is great. You guy. Sauron said speechlessly, can I see your sword? Lin Hai directly took out Gao Feng from the space and threw it to Sauron, then walked to Nami and asked, how long does it take you to get from here? Nami replied, more than a day, but should we make a plan on how to defeat the Aaron pirates? Luffy interrupted, kick him away. Sauron, kill him. Sanji, kick him away. Lin Hai, fight it to death. Everyone looked at Usopp, who stammered, I'm cheering for you from the side. Nami slapped her head and said, let me tell you, the Aaron pirates are not simple. They are completely different from the pirates we have seen before. You. Lin Hai interrupted, what are you afraid of? If I just glare at them, I will make them lie down obediently even if they are not unconscious. Luffy quickly stopped him and said, Lin Hai, you can't use that trick, that Aaron must be handed over to me to beat him up. Lin Hai said depressedly, okay, let me leave it to your head office. Duong. Nami, who was interrupted, angrily called Lin Hai and Luffy respectively, and then explained, the arm strength of fishmen is naturally more than 10 times stronger than that of humans. Do you know what this means? What's more, that Aaron. Lin Hai stood up speechlessly, rolled his eyes at Nami, and said amusedly, Luffy is the man who wants to become the Pirate King. Luffy's eyes lit up and he nodded, I am the man who wants to become the Pirate King, just Aaron. Duong. Sanji's eyes instantly turned into peach blossoms, an angry Nami is also so beautiful. Sauron on the side couldn't help complaining, the perverted chef. Sanji glared and said, what did you say, Sauron, the perverted cook? Sanji, you guys, since you were abused once, your temper has become much worse. Zoro, what did you say, Sanji, do you want to fight? Nami on the side slapped her forehead, it's over, how did this pirate group become like this? Chapter 35 Rub, don't slap in the face. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seeing Nami drawing circles in the corner of the boat, Lin Hai knew that he couldn't stimulate her anymore, otherwise something would really happen. Ahem. Lin Hai said, everyone, please stop making trouble. We really need to discuss how to make plans after arriving at Coquettish village, Luffy said, can't we just go to Aaron's place directly? As long as we defeat him, won't all the problems be solved? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, what about the fishmen in other places? What if they jump over the wall and hurt the villagers? Nami suddenly became energetic and hurriedly ran to Lin Hai and asked, do you have any idea? Lin Hai said with a smile, if I have a way, do I still need to discuss it? Luffy pouted and said, what? There's nothing you can do about it. Sanji chewed his cigarette and muttered, this is indeed a problem. If those fishmen kidnap or harm the villagers, Miss Nami will definitely be sad. Before he finished speaking, Lin Hai took the cigarette out of Sanji's pocket, and Lin Hai quickly lit one. Ahem. Lin Hai choked and said speechlessly, what kind of cigarette is this? Sanji said angrily, you bastard, you don't know how to smoke and you still take the whole pack. Lin Hai said, I can't get used to the air in this world, can't I? Duong. Nami put her hands on her hips and said angrily, everyone is like this. After a while, Lin Hai said, otherwise, Nami and Luffy go to the village to make a big fuss and attract the fishmen around to Aaron's base, I and others will go directly to Aaron's base to provoke them. When the fishmen scattered in other places come back, we will annihilate them in one fell swoop. Sanji sat up and nodded, that's an idea. With Luffy's troublemaking character, he is very suitable for this. Luffy said disgustedly, why do you let me go with Nami? Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, do you know where those fishmen are located? Luffy shook his head decisively and said, I don't know. Lin Hai spread his hands, isn't that enough? There's more. With that said, Lin Hai ran to Sauron, shook his shoulders and said speechlessly, can you say something? Who have you been showing off to with such a cold expression all day long? Ah, it hurts. Zoro said angrily, Lin Hai, you bastard, let go, believe it or not, I will chop you down. Lin Hai gently poked Sauron's wound with his hand, really? Ah. Zoro said with cold sweat on his head, you bastard. Ha ha ha. Things have been settled, and everyone can't help but feel a little more relaxed. At this time, Sanji ran to Lin Hai and said, Lin Hai, can you design a look for me later? Just the same style as you did that day. Luffy, who was deaf, also came over and said noisily, Lin Hai, I want it too. Lin Hai said depressedly, these are all innate, haven't you heard a word? Zoro on the side asked doubtfully, what are you talking about? Lin Hai looked up at the sky at 45 degrees. Lin Hai did this again, and everyone couldn't help but darken their faces, but that look was really attractive. At this time, Lin Hai said, watch the monkey and wear the crown. Nami asked, what do you mean? Lin Hai said slowly, in other words, a monkey is a monkey. Even if you put on clothes, it can't change. What the hell are you doing? Don't slap me in the face. Sanji, why are you so annoying? Luffy, Lin Hai, you actually called me a monkey. Sauron, ha ha ha, cough, 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 beat him hard. On the deck, Luffy shouted out of boredom, "Ah, Nami, how long will it take to arrive? It's so boring." Nami looked in the direction and replied, "We'll be there almost tomorrow." Nanny. Luffy lay weakly on the board of the ship. Nami asked doubtfully, "Why don't you go play with Lin Hai and the others?" Usopp, who was making weapons, pointed to a remote place and explained, "Lin Hai and Zoro are sleeping over there." At this time, Sanji walked out of the kitchen and said, "Dinner is ready." Luffy suddenly became energetic, "It's time to eat, it's time to eat." Lin Hai, who was in a daze, quickly pulled Zoro up. Zoro asked doubtfully, "What are you doing?" Lin Hai said speechlessly, "If you don't go to eat, will there be anything to eat later?" Zoro quickly replied, "Go quickly." Lin Hai said quickly, "Wait a minute, something is coming." Everyone stopped and asked in confusion, "Is there something coming up?" Before everyone could wonder, a fountain suddenly appeared on the sea level, and then a sea beast the size of a small boat appeared, and then stared in the direction of the kitchen. When Nami saw the sea beast, she was stunned. "Isn't this the manatee Moo raised by Eren and the others?" Usopp said in fear, "What is this? Is it too big?" Sauron wondered, "What does it want to do?" Luffy replied, "No matter what it wants to do, if it dares to attack us, then beat it away." Lin Hai stepped forward and said, "Do you want to stun it?" Sanji still didn't understand what Lin Hai meant by being stunned, so he said, "It must be hungry." Lu Feiji said, "It turns out that it has this idea, to see if I don't beat it up." Sanji kicked Luffy away, "It's just hungry." After saying that, Sanji went back to the kitchen and took out a piece of meat. Lin Hai said speechlessly, "Be careful not to be swallowed by it, both human and flesh." Sanji kicked the sea beast in the chin and exclaimed, "This is really what it is." Everyone couldn't help but darken their faces. Luffy's eyes suddenly lit up. "Everyone, why not let that sea beast pull the boat?" "Nanny!" Everyone shouted. Sanji wondered, "How is this possible?" Lin Hai said speechlessly, "Do you really mean that?" "I am opposed to this." Luffy asked confused, "Why?" Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, "There are too many accidents if you let the sea beast pull the boat. If you are not afraid that the boat will be damaged, then let it pull." Usopp quickly stood up and echoed, "Don't let it pull the boat, Luffy, you'd better give up this idea." Lin Hai stepped forward and said, "I am ready to release my overlord color and domineering energy. Do you want to feel it?" Except for Luffy and Zoro who didn't object, Nami and Usopp didn't dare to experience that kind of coercion again. However, Sanji didn't understand what Lin Hai wanted to do, and as a result, a powerful, terrifying and irresistible momentum came to his face, and Sanji felt that he was almost broken. After reacting, Sanji was so angry that he grabbed Lin Hai's collar. "You bastard, tell me what kind of monster you are. Is this human power?" Lin Hai slapped Sanji's hand away and said scornfully, "You are not a human being, this is the domineering look of a king." Sanji asked confused, "What is that?" Lin Hai waved his hand and said, "Let's chat while eating." Chapter 36 We are the three heroes of the East. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Unknowingly, the Golden Melee entered the vicinity of Kokoja village and was immediately stopped by the men of the Arlong pirates. One of the leading Murloc captains stepped forward and asked, "Nami, welcome back. The harvest must be great this time, right?" He. These fishmen looked like they deserved a beating, and Luffy and the others kept silent according to their previous agreement. Nami stepped forward and said, "Is it okay? Where is Eren?" "Behind me is the Straw Hat Pirates. They have discovered a treasure and want to cooperate with the Eren Pirates. Take us to see him." The captain asked doubtfully, "Treasure? Now that they have discovered it, will they share it with others? Don't you have any purpose?" "Purpose?" Lin Hai stepped forward to pull out the injured Zoro and explained, "The person next to me is the pirate hunter Roronoa Zoro. He is now a crew member of our pirate group. He has suffered such a serious injury. The injury is because our pirate group can't eat it, I heard from Nami that your errant pirates can defeat the sky and the earth at the top, but you can't compare with them, so I want to cooperate with him. Hey, take us there quickly, you can't make a decision anyway, go and inform your captain, Aaron, that a big deal is coming. The fishmen looked at each other a few times, and finally decided to take Luffy and others to see Aaron. The reason for doing this is because the Murlocs are really good at sea battles, so it was unexpected, so they adopted this strategy. After the boat docked, Nami said, I'll go home first and see Aaron later. Lin Hai waved his hand and said, Luffy, you go with Nami. Luffy tried not to make a sound, because as long as Luffy made a sound, the purpose of Lin Hai and others would definitely be exposed. Once the first step is completed, the rest will be easy to solve. As for leaving Aaron to Luffy, Lin Hai said, let's make his spring and autumn dream come true, soon. The fish man leading the way replied, you guys wait here for a while, I will go in and report. Lin Hai glared directly, making these minions stunned. Usopp exclaimed, Lin Hai, your power is too convenient, isn't it? Lin Hai smiled and said, it's okay, Sanji, don't you want to make a handsome appearance? You just kicked the door away. Zoro mocked, sexy cook, this door is quite thick, don't kick your feet off. Sanji said angrily, what did you say? Lin Hai said speechlessly, if you don't kick me, I'll do it. Sanji quickly stopped him and said, don't use that ability later, let's have some fun first. Lin Hai said speechlessly, anyway, it all depends on you. Rumble. Aaron and several cadres, who were sitting on chairs and resting in Aaron's castle, were suddenly startled by a loud noise. Aaron looked at the door and wondered, what happened? Xiaoba. After the smoke cleared, who could it be if it wasn't Lin Hai and others? Aaron stood up seriously, and the other cadres took their positions. Aaron said coldly, who are you? What are you doing here? Wow, Lin Hai, Sanji and Usopp's eyes lit up, while Zoro stood aside because, it's so shameful. I saw Lin Hai standing in the middle, Sanji and Usopp standing to the side, and then the three of them imitated the stances of the four great silver heroes from the south of the Yangtze River in the movie Tang Bohu Spot's Autumn Fragrance. We are the three heroes of the East. X3. Three heroes of the East. Aaron turned his head and glanced at the companions behind him, who all looked confused. Aaron replied, I've never heard of it, what on earth do you want to do? Of course I wanted to show off, and at the same time I wanted to practice my fighting skills, otherwise it would just be a stare, but Lin Hai didn't dare to tell Luffy and the others about these things, otherwise they would have to destroy him. At the right time, Lin Hai said, Sanji, you tell me. Ahem. Sanji's eyes lit up, he was finally here. Sanji made a posture, pointed to the sky at a 45-degree angle, and said loudly, for the sake of world peace, for the harmonious life of the sexes, and for people not to be oppressed, today we represent freedom to eliminate you. With that said, Sanji pointed at Arlong and his group with a cigarette in his hand. Lin Hai and Usopp stood together and echoed, on behalf of freedom, I will destroy you. A drop of cold sweat was seen dripping from the tip of Usopp's nose. On the other hand, Sauron's face was flushed. Why did he get on this ship in the first place? What a shame. Aaron looked at the people at the door for a while, then said with a gloomy face, are you here to entertain me? Very good, you succeeded in irritating me. Seeing that Aaron was about to take action, the black belt quickly stopped Aaron and explained, calm down, if you take action, Aaron's paradise will be destroyed. Xiao Ba echoed, yes, brother Aaron, just let us do it. Just give us a few points. Then I'll leave it to you. After saying that, Aaron sat back down in his seat. The black belt and Xiaoba stepped forward, and Xiaoba said, although your ambitions are great, this is Aaron's paradise, and I won't let you destroy it. Ambitions for greatness. Lin Hai nodded and said, of course our ambition is great. Unlike you stinky fish, you are so courageous. Instead of hiding in the water, you actually come to land to bully humans. Aren't you afraid of being turned into fish? As soon as he finished speaking, dense water droplets shot over like bullets. Lin Hai took this opportunity to train himself. He avoided going up, down, left, and right one by one, but he was still hit twice. After all, it was too dense. On one side, Sanji, Usopp and Zoro were all hit. This was as powerful as a machine gun, causing the three of them to lose their fighting power instantly. These water droplets were naturally thrown out by Eren, who was angered by Lin Hai's words just now. At this time, Eren stepped forward with red eyes and said, "You low-level humans, what have you done to my compatriots? You can't even bear a few drops of water from me, and you dare to speak rudely." Lin Hai looked at the people next to him. He didn't help them resist just now. He mainly wanted them to feel the power of the master compared to them. At this time, Lin Hai stepped forward and said contemptuously, "Inferior humans. You are so awesome. You stupid fish only deserve to hide in a corner and bully some weak civilians to show off your self-deceiving vanity." Eren stared at Lin Hai as if he were a dead man, and then said slowly, "I hope your mouth will still be so powerful later." Lin Haijing was about to say something when he heard a voice, "Guess Noah, rocket launcher." It turns out that this guy Luffy is here. However, Luffy's attack was directly avoided by Eren, and then Luffy flew out from the opposite wall with a minion behind Eren. A question appeared in everyone's mind: what is going on? Chapter 37 Everyone Falls. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rumble. There was a sound, and everyone looked and saw a hole in the wall, except for Lin Hai, Eren, Zoro and Sanji, who could clearly see what was going on. Everyone else present was at a loss. What happened? There seemed to be a shadow flying past just now. Who was it? Accomplices of those people. Seeing that Eren's paradise he built was destroyed again, Eren said in a low voice, these guys, I want to kill them all." The black belt quickly hugged Eren's waist and persuaded, "Along, calm down. If you take action, Eren's paradise will be really ruined." Before Eren could speak, the noise of the villagers came not far away. From this voice, there was a hint of anger and determination. Eren said to the door, "Let me go, I won't mess around." What are those villagers doing here? At this time, Luffy, who had crashed out of the wall, came back again and said simply, "Well, I was scared to death. Fortunately, that person helped me push it up. He is really a good person." The members of the Eren pirates looked through the hole in the wall, and Eren found that his compatriots were lying on the ground, unconscious. Eren couldn't help but mutter, "You low-level humans, did you hurt my compatriots like this?" After speaking, Eren looked at the menacing villagers and asked, "What are you doing?" Aegean, the village chief of Coquettish village, stepped forward and said, "Eren, we are here to defeat you today." Lin Hai applauded, "That's right, how can we, a 7-foot-tall man, be oppressed by these ruthless bandits at will? Come on, village chief." Nami on the side hammered Lin Hai's head and said angrily, "What do you mean? Aren't you going to take action?" Lin Hai hugged Nami's waist and smiled, "Don't worry, I know what's going on." Seeing Lin Hai taking it so calmly, Nami was not so nervous. After all, when a Jien fought with Eren, it was the result of being beaten in seconds. Sanji, who was recovering on the side, saw Lin Hai hugging Nami again, and immediately said unhappy, "Lin Hai, let go of Miss Nami." Lin Hai turned around and said disdainfully, "That's it for you when people sprinkle water on you. Find a hole to hide. You bastard." Eren's face turned dark when he was ignored, and he confirmed, "Are you planning to resist?" The villagers immediately replied, "Yes, we have endured enough. If Nami hadn't held on to the hope of freeing the village all these years, we wouldn't have endured it like this. Even if I die today, I will not accept the rule of the Arlong pirates." Eren understood, turned to look at Lin Hai and others, and asked, "What is your purpose?" Lin Hai pulled the trembling Nami forward and said, "Kill you stinky fish." Eren's eyes flashed red. "Nami, is this what you mean?" Nami said in fear, I. Lin Hai said speechlessly, "Nami, what are you thinking about so much? Revenge for killing your mother, being squeezed for 8 years, ask yourself about your heart." Nami struggled for a while, then turned around and smiled, "Sorry everyone, I don't plan to give in." "What are you talking about? It should have been like this a long time ago. Nami, I've put you through so much over the years. It's really hard on you. We have long had the consciousness to risk our lives. Nami finally couldn't hold it any longer and shed tears. Lin Hai took out a cigarette and found that there was no fire. His eyes suddenly lit up. He walked to Xiaoba and asked, "Hey, can you borrow a fire?" "Ah." Xiaoba shook his head and said, "I don't smoke." "If you want to get angry, ask Zhou, he should have it." After reacting, Xiaoba quickly jumped to the side and pointed at Lin Hai, "You bastard, I won't lend you a favor, we are in a hostile relationship." Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, "It's just to lend a hand, you really know how to make a fuss out of a molehill, so hurry up and play." Xiaoba bowed quickly and said, "I'm sorry." Lin Hai waved his hand and said, "You're welcome." Everyone is stunned. What's going on with these two guys? Aaron's face darkened, and he shouted loudly, "Xiaoba, what are you doing?" After reacting, Xiaoba pointed at Lin Hai angrily and said, "You bastard, I'm going to kill you." As soon as he finished speaking, Xiaoba climbed directly into a room and took out 6 knives, pointed at Lin Hai and said, "You destroyed Aaron's paradise, injured my compatriots, and insulted brother Aaron, I'm going to kill you." Seeing that Xiaoba was about to take action, Lin Hai exclaimed, "Wait a minute, how can you use 6 knives at the same time? It's too scary, Sauron help me." Everyone's faces darkened. This guy seemed to be shouting and killing just now. What's causing the fuss now? That's it. But Zoro didn't pay much attention. He took 3 knives and pointed at Xiaoba and said, "6-knife style." "Interesting." Hachi asked in confusion, "Are you a pirate hunter, Roranoa Zoro?" Lin Hai echoed, "That's right, I wasn't afraid of you just now. If I took action, I was afraid that I would kill you with one punch, so why don't you thank me?" To everyone's surprise, Xiaoba bowed again and said, "Thank you." Everyone felt. Lin Hai patted Usopp, "Have you learned?" Usopp shook his head like a rattle, almost doubting life. Playfulness returned to playfulness. At the right time Aaron stepped forward to look at Lin Hai and said, "You were able to avoid my splash just now, you are qualified to be my opponent." Before he finished speaking, Luffy stepped forward and interrupted, "Your opponent is me." Being interrupted again and again, Aaron said angrily, "Who are you?" Luffy replied, "Monkey D. Luffy is the man who wants to become the Pirate King. One Piece. TCH. Ha ha ha." Aaron laughed and said, "Pirate King? You, a low-level human being, are so ignorant that I don't even know what to say. What is your purpose?" Luffy explained, "You made my navigator cry." Aaron asked doubtfully, "Your navigator?" Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, "It's Nami, you stupid fish." Aaron couldn't help it, and immediately raised his hand, punched Lin Hai directly, and said angrily, "You inferior human being, you insult me again and again." Luffy stepped forward to block Aaron's punch and replied, "Your opponent is me." Aaron looked at Luffy dangerously and said, "Don't worry, I will kill you all one by one, including the villagers." Luffy replied, "If you have the ability, just try." The black belt on one side also joined the battlefield, but was stopped by Sanji. This is how the war started. Lin Hai found that he could only be a jerk on the side, but it was good to hold Nami in his arms. Chapter 38. Look, there are cows flying in the sky. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Because Zoro was too seriously injured before, he was at a disadvantage in the duel with Hachi. Nami on the side said worriedly, "Lin Hai, aren't you going to help Sauron?" Lin Hai said with a smile, "You have to have more confidence in your companions." "What's the point? Sauron wants to become the world's best swordsman. If he falls down in such a small scene, he might as well go home and sleep as soon as possible." Without waiting for Nami to retort, Zoro took off the silk scarf tied to his arm and tied it to his head. He turned to look at Lin Hai very happily, and then said, "Octopus, today I will show you what real life is. Fencing. The secret of the three-sword style, tornado." As a result, Xiaoba was defeated so easily. Lin Hai secretly spat, "Sauron is so shameless, real swordsmanship." He, Lin Hai, didn't even brag about his swordsmanship, so he could just show off the swordsmanship he had acquired. Nami turned around and asked in confusion, "What are you talking about?" Ahaha. Lin Hai quickly explained, that Lu Dao's style is really good, it's so bad. Suddenly, a bubble shot over and was slapped away by Lin Hai. It turned out to be Chio's spit. Lin Hai exclaimed, "Stinky fish, you are not very particular about hygiene, aren't you? You actually attack with saliva, it's so disgusting." Chio's cheeks turned red and he said, "That's not saliva, that's blisters." Lin Hai waved his hand and said, "It doesn't matter who you are, Usopp." Usopp asked confused, "What's wrong?" Lin Hai said, "I'll leave it to you. After a good practice, I believe you can do it." Usopp said in surprise, "Can I really do that? Thank you for your trust." As soon as he finished speaking, Usopp turned around and ran away. "Nani!" everyone shouted. "Kiwaha!" Chio said contemptuously, "Are low-level humans so courageous?" Puff. As soon as Chio finished speaking, he saw a ball of fire shooting towards him. Chio subconsciously blocked it with his hands, and then his arm caught fire. Chio exclaimed, "The fish is about to be dried, hot, hot, hot." Usopp put on the goggles and said with a very proud smile, "Stinky fish, your opponent is me." Everyone's face turned dark, "This guy." After finally putting out the fire, Chio said angrily, "Stop if you dare." Usopp ran away quickly. Just when Chio was about to ignore him, he attacked again. Chio was so angry that he chased Usopp. Lin Hai smiled and said, "Did you see it? You need to learn more about this tactic in the future, Nami." Nami shivered because Lin Hai's hand moved and touched her. Nami's face turned red and she turned around and said, "Let go." After reacting, Lin Hai quickly let go. How could he forget about it just now? At this time, the battle between Sanji and the Black Belt has ended. Sanji's kicking skills are quite good, and they are more than enough to deal with these rookies. The rest of the battle is between Luffy and Arlong. Eren was so angry that he almost ran away when he saw his compatriots falling down one by one. Suddenly, Luffy was punched by Eren and fell into the sea, and Lin Hai had to take action. With a jump, Lin Hai caught Eren who wanted to go to the sea. Eren said with a gloomy face, "Get out of the way." Lin Hai said disdainfully, "Are you an idiot? Sanji, go and fish Luffy out, and I will take the stage." Eren stared at Lin Hai dangerously and said slowly, "Since you are so eager to find death, I will send you on your way first. Shark flying arrow. How about flying wool, at this speed?" Lin Hai didn't plan to kill Eren with one move, but wanted to practice his combat experience. In an instant, Lin Hai punched Eren on the shoulder as he flew over. Rumble. I saw Eren being punched into Eren's castle by Lin Hai, and there was a burst of dust. The villagers immediately exclaimed, "Who is that young man? He is so amazing." "I don't know, I only know that he was brought back by Nami." "Has Eren been solved? By the way, do humans really have this power?" Nami on the side saw Lin Hai knocking Eren away with one punch. This crushing feeling was completely different from the fight between Luffy and the others just now. Nami knew that Lin Hai was very powerful. When she actually saw this scene, she was pleasantly surprised. Can she and this village really escape Eren's rule? Zoro, who was lying on the ground to rest, glanced at Lin Hai in surprise. Eren's strength could be inferred from the water hit just now. He didn't expect Lin Hai to throw him so far away. It seems that I have to work harder in the future. At this time, after the smoke dissipated, Eren was seen holding a machete. The edge of the machete was shaped like a saw. Eren walked out of the castle he built angrily, and then yelled, "You low-level humans, I will kill you all today." Lin Hai suddenly pointed to the sky and said, "Look, there are cows flying in the sky." Everyone was attracted by Lin Hai's movements. When they reacted, everyone tried their best to hold back their laughter and looked at the furious Eren. Eren walked not far from Lin Hai and said in a low voice, "I hope you can still be so eloquent later." Lin Hai said speechlessly, "If you want to fight, just fight. There is so much nonsense, it's so noisy." "Ah, Lin Hai, get out of your way, he's mine." Luffy, who was picked up by Sanji, couldn't help but said when he saw Lin Hai confronting Eren. Lin Hai rolled his eyes and said, "You have already appeared, now it's my turn. TCH. Ha ha ha. Aaron said angrily and laughed, you low-level humans, come together, today I want to rumble. Before Aaron could finish speaking, Lin Hai punched Aaron into the castle he built. Lin Hai picked his ears, pointed in the direction in which Aaron flew out, and wondered, where did this fish come from? Could it have escaped from a mental hospital? Everyone's eyes twitched. Luffy said angrily, Lin Hai, didn't you agree to give Aaron to me? How could you take action? Lin Hai said speechlessly, who makes you so unruly every day? After practicing for so long, you can't even catch a fish. You, get out of the way. Before he finished speaking, Aaron rushed over from the collapsed place again with the tip of his nose. Inferior humans, there is no way I can be defeated by you, ha 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 ha, suffer death. Giantwens Baki had already warned him. Before he was sure that his opponent had lost his fighting power, Lin Hai did not let down his guard. After pushing Luffy away, Lin Hai took advantage of the situation and made a barbed shot, directly kicking Aaron on the head. Rumble. A big hole suddenly appeared on the site. Before everyone could react, they were startled by the sudden loud noise. Chapter 39 One Sword Style, Chrysanthemum Chop. You are listening at novelfull.audio. What happened? What's that noise about? I thought I heard Aaron's voice just now. It seemed to be Aaron. Look, there's a big pit ahead. Who did it? That when the smoke dissipated, Lin Hai was seen standing in the field, and Luffy was sitting on the ground. At the right time, Luffy reacted and rushed to Lin Hai and said angrily, Lin Hai, you guy, Aaron must be done by me. Lin Hai nodded and said, okay, I won't take action anymore. Luffy said in surprise, Aaron, come out quickly, I will beat you away. Sanji, who was on the side, had already seen Aaron unconscious in the big pit, and quickly reminded him, where is Aaron? What are you shouting at that building? Following the direction of Sanji's finger, Luffy saw that Arlong had been defeated. Now what? Wake him up and then hit him. Luffy is a little autistic, Lin Hai on the side joked, Luffy, go fight him, he is right there, go and beat him hard. The villagers who reacted were pleasantly surprised. After 8 years of oppression, is this nightmare finally over? Pinch me, isn't this a dream? Is Aaron's nightmare finally over? Yohoo, we are finally free, ha ha ha. Don't worry about your own happiness, hurry up and inform the villagers in other villages. Not far away, Nami couldn't help crying with joy, and she could finally breathe a sigh of relief. Perhaps the breaths were too long apart, and the joy was also a little sentimental. Woo woo woo, Belmere. Lin Hai had no intention of comforting Nami. Only she could heal this kind of wound. At the right time, the village chief Aegean stepped forward and took a look at Aaron lying unconscious in the pit, and then said, everyone, what should we do with Aaron next? Village chief, do I need to say more? Of course I will kill him. Yes, kill him, he has brought us so much pain over the years. The one who has caused the most pain to everyone should be Nami, right? Let her handle it. At the right time, Lin Hai directly brought Aaron from the big pit to the villagers. Seeing Aaron's appearance, Nami was a little excited. She held a dagger and hesitated to stab him. In the end, Nami dropped the dagger in her hand. Sanji on the side had red eyes and said, Miss Nami is not only beautiful, but also so kind. I love you, Miss Nami. Luffy stepped forward and patted Nami on the shoulder and said seriously, Nami, I agree with what you are doing. Don't be blinded by hatred. The villagers nearby also began to echo. Lin Hai on the side couldn't help it anymore. I object. Everyone looked at Lin Hai in confusion, and Lin Hai walked up to Aaron, lifted him up directly, and said slowly, I know you are kind-hearted, but kindness is always relative. You must understand this. What has this guy done? Let's not talk about what state of mind we want to reach, but let's talk about how many lives this Aaron has in his hands, and how many people have been enslaved by him for so many years. If you still have to say forgiveness to this kind of thing, then you have deserved it all these years. Nanny. Everyone shouted, ignoring everyone's reaction. Lin Hai said loudly, it is only right to pay back debts. The revenge of killing one's mother is irreconcilable, Nami. You are not a saint, and I don't ask you to be a saint. If you don't toughen this guy, will you really be happy? Be strong. As Belmir's daughter, you should do something for her and use Aaron's life to honor her. If you don't dare, can I do it for you? Everyone looked at Nami. The revenge of killing one's mother is irreconcilable and must be avenged. Even if you are afraid of being blinded by hatred, that is what happens after you kill Aaron first. Nami, who was thinking for a while, looked at the villagers, smiled, and without hesitation picked up the dagger and gave it to Aaron. Many villagers present had this idea. After Lin Hai's prompting, they became even more determined. Congratulations suddenly sounded again at the Aaron base. Sanji walked to Lin Hai and couldn't help but muttered, "Lin Hai, you bastard, don't pollute Nami's pure heart." Lin Hai asked, "What would you do if someone killed Jafu, the chef of Hai restaurant?" Sanji blurted out, "I will kill all those people." Lin Hai said disdainfully, "That's it. Why do you ask Nami to forgive Aaron? Forgiving Aaron is a matter of God. What Nami has to do is to send him to see God." Luffy exclaimed, "That's it." Nami walked to Lin Hai, looked at Lin Hai for a while, and then bowed to everyone. "Thank you." At the right time, Lin Hai said, "Nami, I will give you another gift." After saying that, Lin Hai waved his hand and said, "Everyone, please step back and stay away from the base. Room, scan." That's right, Lin Hai learned Trafalgar Luo's moves. After all, the two have many similarities in their abilities to create space fields. Suddenly, mountains of treasures appeared on the field. In fact, these treasures were all from Aaron's castle. The villagers were all surprised to see so many gleaming treasures suddenly appearing, because they didn't know there was such a thing as devil fruit. I thought it was a miracle. What's going on? Why do so many treasures suddenly appear here? This must have been done by that young man, right? Isn't this what he wanted to give to Nami? Luffy on the other side pouted, "What, I thought it was delicious." Sanji poked Luffy's head, "Baga, you have so much treasure, you can buy whatever you want, okay?" "Really?" Luffy immediately clasped his hands to his chest, leaned forward, and asked Nami with bright eyes, "Nami, can you give me some?" How could Nami hear other people's words? She was completely in a state of greedy face. Sauron on the side found that Lin Hai had not released his ability state, and asked doubtfully, "Lin Hai, what else do you want to do?" Lin Hai smiled and said, "You'll know later. One sword style, chrysanthemum chop." I saw Lin Hai hacking at Aaron's castle. Suddenly, Aaron's castle collapsed piece by piece, shaking up huge dust. Cough cough cough, what happened again? Ah, I'm scared to death. This young man is so random. Look, everyone, Aaron Castle is in ruins. Hiss, silk cake. Chapter 40, Adventure King, I'm determined. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Because of the collapse of Aaron's castle, everyone nearby was harmed by this burst of dust. A small stone happened to fall on Sauron's head, and Zoro, who was very unhappy, replied, "Is this your swordsmanship? Who doesn't know how to chop randomly? How about a chrysanthemum chop?" Lin Hai said contemptuously, "Others have no vision." "I didn't expect you to have such a lack of vision. Didn't you see that I just cut along the center?" Sauron was about to retort when suddenly a little boy ran up and said excitedly with his eyes shining, "Brother, you were so handsome just now. I will become a person like you in the future. Can you take me to sea?" Lin Hai looked up and down. What kind of joke is this 7 or 8-year-old kid kidding? Taking him out to sea? But when he saw the hat on Luffy's head who was playing with Usopp and the others, Lin Hai suddenly became evil. Ahem. Lin Hai knelt down and gently stroked the little boy's hair. Lin Hai chuckled, "Wait for me." After saying that, Lin Hai quickly redeemed a fake beard from the system and stuck it to his lips. Then he released a little bit of domineering aura, making everyone couldn't help but look over. Lin Hai Ching asked, "What's your name?" Luffy ran over and interrupted Lin Hai, "Huh? Who are you? Where is Lin Hai?" Lin Hai kicked Luffy away, put his hand on the little boy's shoulder, and continued to smile. "Let's ignore him. What's your name?" that the little boy didn't understand why and replied blankly, "My name is Croxy." Lin Hai put on the same expression as when Shanks handed the straw hat to Luffy, and then said, "Croxy, you are too young, we will not take you out to sea." After saying that, Lin Hai redeemed an Adidas hat from the system, a white one. Lin Hai put the hat on Croxy's head and said, "Croxy, I heard that your parents were persecuted by Eren a few years ago, so you have to be strong. Now, this hat is my most precious treasure. The quality is guaranteed. This hat has been with me through many desperate situations and countless battles. In the past, Luffy asked me for it, but I was not willing to give it to me. He will leave it to you for safekeeping now, Croxy. This is not an ordinary hat. When you are lonely, this hat is your companion. I hope it can accompany you through the sad times. When you are confused, this hat is your companion. The guiding light. When you are in pain, this hat is the medicine to soothe your pain. Croxy, when you become an excellent pickup girl in the future, when you become an excellent adventurer, I will ask you for it back. We have an agreement." Luffy on the other side had black lines all over his face. He was familiar with this scene. This Lin Hai is so funny. However, is everything Lin Hai said true? Woo, Lin Hai, you are so great. Luffy was suddenly moved by Lin Hai. At this time, many villagers actually started crying too. Wow, it's so touching and romantic. Wow, Lin Hai, you are a real man. What a touching speech, it's so touching. What happens? Lin Hai was confused. These villagers were so excited that Lin Hai almost believed it. At this time, Croxy raised his head, his face full of tears, and said loudly and firmly, "Lin Hai, we have agreed, I will take good care of this hat. I will regard it as my partner. Before returning this hat to you, I will definitely take good care of it." Lin Hai nodded and smiled without saying a word, then stood up and waved his hands, leaving Croxy with the back of a real man. This was more of a pretense, and Lin Hai expressed that he was very satisfied. After a while, Croxy said loudly to Lin Hai's back, "Lin Hai, I have decided that I will become the Adventure King in the future." Lin Hai almost fell over. Hey, he was too involved in the drama. If he said that he was joking with him now, what kind of psychological trauma would it cause to others? Lin Hai felt like he was not feeling well. There is no other way. In this case, we can only pretend to the end. Lin Hai showed a warm smile again, turned around and replied, "Oh. Adventure King. So you are going to surpass us?" Croxy nodded firmly and said, "Yes. I will find a partner who is better than you, and then surpass you, Adventure King. I am determined." Sanji, Zoro, Nami and others on the side looked at Luffy strangely. One Piece. Adventure King. Interesting. Luffy was originally moved, but now his face is full of black lines. It's shameful to imitate. Piracy is strictly prohibited. Must protest. Lin Hai on the other side was very depressed now. From Kuluashi's words, Lin Hai knew that this little kid was serious. But with his ordinary body, he won't be drowned in the sea, right? Lin Hai really wanted to give him a heaven-defying skill, but unfortunately the system stipulated that devil fruits, techniques and other items could not be used by others except the host. Lin Hai could only continue to pretend to smile. "I believe you can do it." At this moment, an inappropriate laughter sounded, "Chi chi chi. Are you all pirates? All those treasures have been confiscated." The person who came over turned out to be Colonel Mouse, who was in charge of this sea area. Originally, Colonel Mouse was here to negotiate with Eren, but he didn't expect to gain a lot today. At this time, Colonel Mouse was leading his men, and they all surrounded him. There was no reason not to take the treasure. Want to confiscate so much treasure? How can I bear this? Nami was the first to step forward and said, "These treasures belong to the villagers, you have no right to deal with them." Lin Hai quickly pushed Luffy, who was still in a daze, and said, "Luffy, if you want to be famous, come up and introduce yourself, and then beat up the Mouse Colonel." I'll make sure you become famous all over the world. Luffy's eyes lit up and he quickly walked up to Nami. My name is Monkey D. Luffy, and I am the man who wants to become the Pirate King. Who are you? Jijijiji. Colonel Mouse replied, One Piece. Jijijiji, I really don't know the heights of the world. Did you defeat that Aaron? Luffy nodded and said, That's right. Usopp also wanted to join in a few words, but was pulled back by Lin Hai. Lin Hai whispered, Why are you so ignorant of the rules? Let the captain show off first. Sanji asked doubtfully, If we beat him, besides the captain, will we also be famous? Lin Hai nodded and said, Do as I say later, and I will ensure that you all have the bounty. Nami said speechlessly, You guys, do you know how serious things will be after being offered a reward? Lin Hai put his arms around Nami's waist and said funnily, Being a pirate, if there is no reward, where will we put our face? At this time, Colonel Mouse had ordered his subordinates to point their guns at Luffy. Lin Hai, Sanji, and Usopp walked behind Luffy, and the two sides faced off again. If Luffy's wishes were followed, he would be the only one with the bounty on his head. Therefore, Lin Hai's eyes widened and his domineering aura shocked all the soldiers with the spears into losing their fighting power. Then Lin Hai shouted, Everyone, beat him up. I'll let you Jijijiji, you stinky rat. I asked you to rob me of my treasures. These treasures are all mine. Hey, you stinky rat, look clearly, my name is Sanji, and I'm the one who beats you up. Colonel Mouse wailed, I don't want those treasures anymore. It doesn't matter what happens. Please let me go. Lin Hai said loudly, Then you are not happy. Remember, it is our Straw Hat Pirates who will beat you. Colonel Mouse, who ran away, turned back and said harshly, I remember you, Straw Hat Pirates. You have caused big trouble. Just wait and see. I will come back. Lin Hai picked up Aaron's shoes, aimed at Colonel Mouse, and shouted, Go, Pikachu. Bingo.